There's nothing more painful than looking into the eyes of your own children and seeing indifference, or worse, disdain. You've fed them, bathed them, guided them, sacrificed for them. You've stood by them through their tantrums, their teenage years, their heartbreaks, and their triumphs. But now, as the years have gone by and your hair has grayed, their voices have grown colder. The warmth is fading. The respect is gone. You might be asking yourself in silence, where did I go wrong? If you've ever felt that ache in your chest when your child ignores your words, dismisses your opinions, or treats you like a burden rather than a blessing, then you are not alone. The struggle is real, the pain is sharp, and the confusion is overwhelming. But there's something else that's even more important to know. You are not powerless. You do not have to accept this as the end of your story. You still have the ability to turn the tide. Because respect isn't just demanded, it's cultivated. It's built with quiet strength, consistent action, and a deep understanding of the emotional dance between parent and child. So today, we're not going to simply talk about the pain. We're going to walk into the light. We're going to explore 6 powerful and transformative strategies, things you can start doing today that can help you regain the respect of your children without yelling, begging, or feeling like you've lost yourself in the process. This isn't about being aggressive or demanding obedience. It's about becoming the kind of parent who commands respect naturally, gently, wisely, and firmly. Because at the end of the day, children, even adult children, often reflect the tone and behavior they've been taught to follow. And just as a garden can be restored after a harsh season, the bond between you and your children can be renewed. Even if the damage seems deep, let's start with the first powerful shift. Stop chasing their approval. Yes, it might sound harsh, but many parents, in a desperate attempt to regain their children's love or attention, start bending over backward, saying yes to everything, avoiding conflict, and accepting disrespect just to keep the peace. The problem is that doesn't bring peace. It brings resentment on both sides. Children begin to see their parent as someone they can walk over. You're not a doormat. You're their parent. You have dignity, value, and wisdom. And if you stop begging for validation, you create a space for your child to see you not as someone desperate for attention, but as someone who respects themselves. Respect starts from within. When you show that you value your own time, your opinions, and your emotional boundaries, you send a silent message that says, I'm worth listening to. The second shift is something we often underestimate: emotional detachment from their hurtful behavior. This doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means learning to separate your identity from their reactions. When your children say something hurtful, roll their eyes, or ignore your calls, it's easy to internalize it and believe it's a reflection of your worth. But it's not. Sometimes, children are dealing with their own unresolved issues, insecurities, or traumas. They may be projecting their pain onto you. If you absorb every disrespectful word like it's a verdict on your value, you'll remain trapped in their emotional storm. Instead, learn to observe their behavior with compassionate detachment. Ask yourself, what might they be going through that's causing them to act this way? And then respond, not react, with calm strength. Your steady presence will begin to reset the tone of your relationship. Now, let's dive deeper into the third transformative approach: rebuild respect through boundaries. Boundaries aren't about punishment, they're about self-respect. If your children are speaking to you in a disrespectful tone, refusing to visit unless you meet their conditions, or constantly taking from you without reciprocating, it's time to draw clear lines. Not out of anger, but out of love for yourself. Let them know, calmly and kindly, what you will and won't tolerate. For example, you might say, I'd love to talk with you, but not if I'm going to be yelled at or belittled. Or, I'm happy to help when I can, but I also need time for myself. Boundaries teach people how to treat us. When you begin to honor your own space and energy, your children will either step up to meet you with respect, or they'll realize that their old behavior no longer works. And either way, you win. You reclaim your sense of control. You stop feeling helpless. The fourth way to regain respect may surprise you. Shift from trying to parent them to try to connect with them. Especially when your children are grown, they no longer need a parent who instructs. They need a parent who listens. You might have years of wisdom and advice you want to share, but unsolicited advice often sounds like criticism to a child who's trying to navigate their adult life. Instead, try being curious about their world. Ask questions, listen more than you speak, and validate their feelings even when you disagree. This doesn't mean you abandon your values. It means you build a bridge. When children feel heard and seen, they become more open. And when they feel emotionally safe around you, their respect for you starts to grow organically. It's natural to want your children to change first. After all, they're the ones showing you disrespect. But what if the real power is in what you model? Consistently, calmly, and quietly. Respect begins with self-respect, and self-respect is contagious. If your children see you speaking with dignity, treating others with kindness, setting healthy limits, and refusing to be pulled into toxic arguments or drama, they notice, even if they don't say it out loud. The truth is, people, even your own children, often rise or fall to the level of behavior that surrounds them. If your energy is calm, firm, and grounded, over time, it disarms the chaos. It removes the fuel from their disrespect. They start to realize you are not someone to be taken lightly. You're someone who carries inner strength. You don't have to shout it. You live it. When your energy says, I matter, even if you don't recognize it right now, you create space for others to eventually step up. This leads us into the sixth and final core strategy. Reclaim your identity outside of being a parent. This might feel shocking at first. After all, being a mother or father may have been the most central part of your life for decades. But now, it's time to remember that you are more than that. You are a whole, complex, vibrant human being with needs, dreams, and passions of your own. When your world revolves entirely around your children's approval, you give them power they may not be mature enough to handle. But when you begin to explore your own interests, maybe reconnecting with old friends, joining new social circles, taking classes, volunteering, or diving into creative pursuits, you send a loud and clear message. My life is full, even if you're not the center of it. That energy is magnetic. It shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, your children are not dealing with a parent waiting by the phone, hoping to be noticed. They're interacting with a parent who is strong, active, and whole. And often, that's when they begin to re-engage with curiosity, respect, and even admiration. Now, while these 6 shifts form the backbone of regaining respect, they're just the beginning. Because behind each of them is a mindset, an internal belief system that shapes everything you say and do. So let's go deeper into the emotional work. Let's talk about the guilt that many parents carry. You may look back and think, maybe I wasn't perfect. Maybe I made mistakes. And you probably did. Every parent does. But guilt is not a foundation for healing. It keeps you small. It makes you accept poor treatment as a kind of penance. But here's the truth. Growth comes when you forgive yourself. When you stop dragging your past into your present. When you say, I did the best I could with what I had, and now I choose to do better for myself. That moment of self-compassion is powerful. It frees you. It opens the door to healthier conversations, clearer boundaries, and renewed confidence. Now let's talk about communication, because it plays a massive role in how your children perceive you. If your tone is always one of complaint, frustration, or desperation, they may tune you out, even if your concerns are valid. But if your tone is calm, Confident and rooted in love, they'll start to lean in. Practice speaking from the I perspective. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I feel hurt when I'm not heard." Instead of, "You're so disrespectful," say, "I value being treated with kindness, especially in my own home." These subtle shifts defuse defensiveness and open the door to real dialogue. Respect doesn't grow in a battlefield. It grows in the spaces where truth is spoken gently and consistently. And let's not forget the role of silence, not as a punishment, but as a form of strength. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop engaging in disrespectful dynamics. Don't chase. Don't argue. Don't try to win the fight. Just step back, protect your peace, and wait. It can be uncomfortable at first. You may feel like you're being distant or cold, but in reality, you're protecting your emotional space. You're refusing to be dragged into cycles that leave you feeling broken. And in that stillness, something amazing happens. Your child may start to notice the absence of your usual reactions. They may start to reflect, and eventually, they may come back with a different tone. Silence isn't weakness. It's clarity. It's space for healing, but there's also something deeply healing about rewriting the narrative you tell yourself. Instead of saying, "My children don't respect me," try telling yourself, "I'm learning to command respect in new ways." This might seem like just a phrase, but it's actually a powerful shift in your mindset. When you change your inner story, you change how you show up. You speak with more confidence. You take things less personally. You carry yourself with dignity. And that changes how others respond to you. Respect isn't just something you ask for. It's something you embody. And here's another key point. Celebrate small wins. If your child starts speaking to you a little more kindly, acknowledge it inwardly. If they show a sliver of emotional openness, treasure it. Healing broken respect is not an overnight event. It's a gradual, layered process. It happens in quiet conversations, in changed behaviors, in moments where old habits are replaced with new ones. Give it time, and give yourself credit for every step forward. Also, don't be afraid to get support. Sometimes, parents think they have to figure it all out alone. But there's no shame in talking to a counselor, joining a support group, or confiding in trusted friends who understand. Being disrespected by your own children can feel incredibly isolating, but you are not alone. There are others who are walking this path and finding strength together. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift you is not a luxury. It's a necessity as we continue this emotional journey. One thing must be clear. You're not defined by how others treat you. You are defined by how you choose to respond. Even if your children are not ready to change, you can change. You can become the most powerful version of yourself, not through control or confrontation, but through inner peace, clarity, and strength. And when you change, everything around you begins to shift. Let's keep going and build on this deep, heartfelt transformation. You're not just watching a video or reading a script. You're reclaiming a part of yourself that's been overlooked, maybe even abandoned for too long. And that's where true power lies. Not in changing your children overnight, but in changing how you carry yourself, how you show up, and how you define your worth. Because once you stop seeking respect and start living as if you deserve it, everything else slowly starts to realign. Now, let's talk about forgiveness. This is one of the most difficult yet freeing steps in your journey. Not just forgiving your children, but also forgiving yourself. Many parents carry decades of emotional scars, things they said in anger, decisions they regret, moments they wish they'd handled differently. You can't change the past, but you can stop letting it poison your present. If your children treat you with disrespect, and part of you believes you deserve it because of your past mistakes, that belief will quietly sabotage your ability to stand tall. It's time to release yourself from that weight. You were learning. You were growing. You made choices with the knowledge and emotional tools you had at the time. You don't need to earn forgiveness. You just need to choose it. For yourself and for them. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or excusing. It means choosing peace over punishment. It means saying, I'm not carrying this pain anymore. I'm walking forward. That inner freedom gives you room to rediscover joy, another powerful key to regaining respect. Joy is magnetic. It doesn't shout or beg for attention. It just shines. Think about the people you naturally admire. Are they bitter and angry? Or do they carry a lightness, a purpose, a joy in life? As you focus more on what brings you joy, music, gardening, walking, learning, storytelling, creating, you become someone your children notice in a new way. You're no longer just mom or dad stuck in old dynamics. You're a person with a vibrant spirit. You become harder to ignore and easier to appreciate. Even if your children don't say it aloud, they will feel it. They will feel that shift in your energy. And it might slowly pull them back to you. Not because you demanded it, but because you became someone they could respect again. Let's also not underestimate the importance of emotional consistency. One of the reasons adult children sometimes struggle to respect their parents is because the parent swings between emotional extremes, loving and generous one moment, then guilt-tripping or overly controlling the next. This inconsistency creates confusion. If your child never knows what version of you they're going to get, they keep their distance. But when you become emotionally steady, calm, clear, patient, and grounded, you offer something very few people in their lives can give: stability. And stability is one of the deepest sources of respect. When they know they can trust your energy, they'll start to trust your presence again. So even when the conversation gets hard or when they disappoint you, respond with consistent grace. Hold your ground, but hold it with quiet confidence. And then there's the power of apology. Yes, you're the parent. Yes, you deserve respect. But sometimes a genuine, heartfelt apology can break down years of resentment in one moment. Not a forced apology, not a guilt-soaked apology, but a simple, sincere one. Something like, I realize I may have hurt you in ways I didn't understand. I am sorry. I love you, and I'm here to rebuild. That kind of vulnerability isn't weakness. It's emotional maturity, and it often earns more respect than any lecture ever could. Your children may be hardened, closed off, even angry, but no one is immune to sincere human connection. And when you take responsibility for your part, without groveling, without guilt, you become someone who is worthy of listening to. Because respect grows in humility just as much as it grows in strength. But what if your children still don't respond? What if they continue to shut you out, disrespect you, or treat you like you're invisible? That's where the deepest strength is tested, the ability to love without attachment. This is not the same as giving up. It's about loving them for who they are, not who you want them to be. It's about recognizing that their journey is their own, and your peace is not dependent on their behavior. You can still send love. You can still pray for them. You can still be open, but you stop allowing their choices to control your emotional state. And when you do that, something amazing happens. You stop feeling helpless. You start feeling powerful, not because they changed, but because you did. You found your strength in the storm. And that strength needs nurturing, which brings us to the idea of community. When you feel disrespected by your own family, it's tempting to withdraw, to isolate, to shrink, to pretend you're okay. But isolation is where bitterness grows. You need to be seen. You need to be valued. And sometimes that comes from places outside your bloodline. Maybe it's through new friends, neighbors, spiritual groups, or creative circles. Find people who celebrate you, who listen to you, who remind you of your worth. When you surround yourself with voices that lift you up, you no longer feel desperate for love from those who won't give it. And ironically, that independence may be the very thing that causes your children to come back around. People often start respecting you when they see others respecting you too. Now, let's take a moment now to revisit the bigger picture. The truth is, respect between a parent and child is not just about words, it's about energy. If your energy is resentful, anxious, or overbearing, it creates resistance. But when your energy becomes light, firm, joyful, and self-assured, it becomes magnetic. This is not easy. It takes time. It takes reflection. It takes unlearning years of habits. But it's absolutely possible. And every small step counts. Every moment you choose peace over reaction. Every time you respond instead of react. Every time you set a boundary without rage. Every time you walk away with grace instead of trying to win. These are the building blocks of respect. These are the moments your children will eventually remember. Not just what you said, but how you made them feel that, don't give up. Don't shrink. Don't beg. And above all, don't forget who you are. You are not defined by the opinions of your children. You are not defined by their silence or sarcasm. You are defined by your heart, your strength, your story, and your choice to rise again and again into a more powerful version of yourself. Not for them, but for you. Absolutely. Let's continue and carry this emotional momentum forward, because this transformation is not just about getting your children to treat you better. It's about rediscovering the version of you that perhaps got buried under years of sacrifice, disappointment, and silence. You spent so long being everything for others. Now, it's time to be everything for you. Let's talk about something quietly profound: the courage to detach from outcomes. So much of the pain in parent-child relationships stems from expectations. Expecting phone calls that never come, expecting kind words that never arrive, expecting apologies that are never spoken. These unmet expectations start to feel like wounds. But what if you released them? What if you said, I will love without waiting for permission. I will give without needing anything in return. I will respect myself even if others don't mirror it back yet. That's not detachment in a cold way. It's freedom. It's the power of choosing to invest your love, time, and attention where it brings peace, not pain. Your children are on their own timeline of growth. Some people take years to realize how they've hurt those who raised them. Some never do. But you don't have to wait another minute to stop hurting. You can start your healing now. Not when they come around. Not when they apologize. But now, because you are worthy of peace regardless of their behavior. This path leads you toward one of the greatest emotional shifts: turning pain into purpose. The disrespect you felt isn't just a wound, it's a doorway. It's a call to rise into a wiser, stronger version of yourself. It's an invitation to step into a kind of leadership that doesn't rely on control, but on quiet strength. You may not realize it now, but there are others watching you. Maybe friends, maybe neighbors, maybe even strangers. And how you respond to your challenges can inspire them. When you carry yourself with dignity in the face of disrespect, when you keep showing love without losing your boundaries, when you rebuild your life without bitterness, you're teaching everyone around you what real resilience looks like. You're modeling emotional maturity not just for your children, but for the world. And don't underestimate how this shift in you can ripple outward. Sometimes when children see their parents stepping into joy again, joining new groups, dressing with more confidence, laughing with new friends, it startles them. In a good way. It reminds them that you're not just the parent. You're a human being. And sometimes that realization is the first crack in their armor. It doesn't guarantee they'll change overnight, but it often plants a seed. Seeds of curiosity, seeds of reflection, seeds that say, maybe I've taken my parent for granted. That's the power of your example. You become the mirror that reflects back what maturity, grace, and self-worth actually look like. That let's also acknowledge the hard truth. Some children, no matter what you do, may continue to disrespect you. Maybe because of unresolved trauma. Maybe because of their own inner battles. Maybe because they simply don't know how to show love in a healthy way. And in those cases, your task is not to fix them, but to release the burden of needing their approval. Because here's the truth, your value doesn't decrease because someone else can't see it. Their blindness doesn't make you invisible. Their coldness doesn't make you unlovable. And their disrespect doesn't erase the years of love, work, and sacrifice you poured into them. Their failure to recognize your worth is not your failure. It's theirs. And you don't have to carry their shortcomings as your shame anymore. This is the beginning of living from your worth, not for it. You're not waiting for their validation. You're walking in your truth. You're finding happiness in places you never expected. You're realizing that even if your children never change, you can. And that change can be beautiful. You may meet new people who bring you more joy in a month than some family members have brought in years. You may create memories that heal the very wounds you thought would stay open forever. You may look in the mirror one day and finally see someone whole, not broken, not waiting, but alive and at peace. It's important, too, to embrace the idea of emotional boundaries. Not the kind that push people away, but the kind that keep your soul safe. When your children speak in ways that cut you down, you can calmly say, I won't allow myself to be spoken to that way. And then follow through, not with anger, but with clarity. If they ignore your boundaries, it's okay to take space. Emotional boundaries teach people how to treat you. And more importantly, they teach you how to honor yourself. Because when you protect your peace, you're not being selfish, you're being wise. And wisdom is something that always commands respect. Even if not right away, let's reflect now on something truly empowering. This journey isn't just about fixing something broken. It's about rediscovering what was never lost, your dignity, your light, your voice. It may have dimmed for a while. Life may have drained it. Disrespect may have buried it, but it's still there. And every time you speak up for yourself, every time you choose joy, every time you walk away from chaos and into calm, you fan the flame again. And eventually, that flame becomes a fire of self-worth, a fire of peace, a fire that says, I am still here, I still matter, I'm not done yet. You may cry along this journey, you may feel lonely, you may doubt yourself, but keep going. Keep choosing the version of yourself who refuses to stay wounded. Keep choosing the version of yourself who lives from love, not fear. Who leads with grace, not guilt. Who builds new memories instead of reliving old pain. Because the most beautiful part of this path is not just that you might regain your children's respect. It's that you might finally regain your own.